Ian, let's talk about WrestleMania 34.
All right, let's do it.
As an overall, we'll just run through the matches real quick, not to make this totally just fucking last forever. I thought it was one of the most mixed cards or results I'd seen in a while. It was not the worst WrestleMania, that's for sure. It was not the best, that's for sure. It's somewhere in the middle of the pack where it had a chance to be really good and just never got there. It was one of those events where it was like, oh, this on paper could be really good, but then it just came up short for me in so many ways once I actually. And I didn't watch 100% of it. I watched like the major 5 or 6 matches. I didn't watch the pre-card. Who cares about the under the Giant Battle Royal? They had Matt Hardy win, which was interesting. In the past, it hasn't meant a damn thing with who won it. Mojo Rawley last year was the biggest waste of time just because they had Gronk show up. They did nothing with Mojo Rawley the past year.
Right.
He's just a jobber for the most part. And then they had
Naomi.
The Cruiserweight title they had as well. And that's totally off Raw now, so I'm not paying attention. They've not had any matches on Raw, really, or very few.
Really?
Since the reboot of it.
Oh, okay.
Once Enzo's been accused of his sexual improprieties and stuff, they totally just took it off and just made it something different and relaunched it.
And then Naomi won
She won the female one,
right,
which they renamed to someone else. Who they got rid of the May.
I think it was just the women's battle royal.
Oh, okay.
So,
what were your overall thoughts before we get into?
I thought that it was, on paper, it was one of the best looking WrestleManias in a long time.
Yeah.
In execution, I thought it was pretty goddamn poor. At the end of it, it was kind of like most WrestleManias. I just kind of felt exhausted.
It's like 5 hours.
Yeah, and I didn't watch the pre-show. And we fast-forwarded through a couple of matches because I started it late.
It's 5 hours with the pre-show, right? It's 5 with the pre-show?
No, it's like 7 hours with the pre-show.
It's 7 hours?
Yeah, it's like 7 hours with the pre-show.
Jesus Christ.
I was kind of bummed about it afterwards, and then I have some things that still kind of irk me about it. But in the end, it's just like, I don't care. I can't.
Sure.
I can't.
We can't get
I'm getting to the point, especially with some things that have changed in my life, where I have to let go of some of these things. Like, I have my opinions on them, but I'm just not gonna get can't get that fired up about it anymore. I don't have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie trailer level of vitriol in me over this sort of shit anymore.
You don't like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie?
Yeah, no.
I thought it was pretty good when I was a kid.
No, the Michael Bay one.
Oh, the Michael Bay one. Oh, that was
what
classic.
I'm saying is, over the past 4 years, I just don't have that level of.
I see what you're saying.
I mean, 3 years ago, I would have been a lot more fired up about this.
Let's run through the card.
So let's do it.
The major matches. Okay, so the triple threat for the Intercontinental Championship: Rollins versus Baylor versus Miz. I thought it was a pretty good match.
Thought it was a pretty good match. The ending kind of lacked. The ending lacked kind of like thunder or snappiness, but they worked well. It just kind of it didn't end with with a bang, It was a good match. Those three, I like all three of those guys. I'd like to see. I would have been happy with any of them winning. I wish the curb stop looks silly when it's not coming off the top rope. Is my only thing.
No, I think it looks okay as a finisher. It's fine.
It looks good as a finisher. I just think it looks kind of silly not coming off the top rope.
That would be a lot more dangerous probably off the top rope. But whatever.
That's how it always used to happen. But
no, with Rollins it didn't.
He always used to. That's how I always remember it, was coming off the top rope.
Are you confusing that with Balor's coup de grace finisher?
No,
he almost never did it off the top rope. It was almost just off the ropes.
Oh, that's what I'm sorry. That's what I meant, off the ropes.
Okay.
Not the top. I thought okay. Anyways, then I saw the end of that. Wrong.
So that was fine. I was surprised. I don't mind Rollins winning it. He deserves a run with that. I'm just surprised that they're talking about that the Miz was coming up on Pedro Morales' record for most number of days as Intercontinental Champion and ready to pass it, and he didn't. Obviously, if he wins it again, he can do it in terms of a number of days total.
Who is he coming up on?
Pedro Morales.
Oh, okay, right.
For a total number of days. I know Pedro Morales won it twice. I have no idea, but he kept saying, I'm going to be the longest reigning champion, not in a row, but I guess combined, because Miz has won like 6 or 7 times at this point.
Miz is fantastic, a great heel. I would have loved to have seen him hold on to it.
He has elevated the title. He keeps saying that, and he has. I see the title was a joke for years.
No, he's really brought it back to mean something, and I can't applaud him enough for that. And I think he is fantastic in his role.
Plus, he had to because the Universal title the past year has been off TV because Brock Lesnar's barely been there. So that was the main Raw title. So that's fine.
He's been great.
We'll talk about Charlotte versus Aska.
Gonna have to unpack that one a little bit later.
Why?
Okay, I thought that was my match of the night.
I liked how I liked how urgent the whole thing felt.
Yeah, that was my match of the night. I'm even still I didn't like the ending. I didn't like the end. It was their first match. Charlotte, it was their first match together. Charlotte's been beaten. Charlotte's shown weakness. Aska, I don't know what the benefit of putting Aska...
Charlotte won, by the way.
Yeah. I don't know what the benefit of putting Charlotte over that decisively on their first match accomplishes. Nothing.
I would look at it this
opinion.
way: Aska has to lose sometime. You might as well lose at WrestleMania versus at some pay-per-view to make it mean something. Because Charlotte's going to be the #1 woman for the next probably 5 years. Like she's going to be the one. So I think that's why they did that.
I suppose.
You know what I'm saying? Like she's established as the best female wrestler now. Like she's gotten so better that I don't think anyone now is even close to her on the roster, in my opinion. For overall best wrestler.
I love Charlotte, but I would argue that Asuka's a better wrestler than Charlotte, no problem. Charlotte's gotten great, but when Charlotte started, she was not good.
But now she's it though. Like she doesn't put on bad matches really, from what I've seen from her. And Aska, it's also probably because I don't know. I don't mind it because it's nice to have something you don't expect happen, which we'll get into later with another one. And you can have a rematch or do something else. I just didn't. I don't know.
When you build up a run for as long as that, I feel like you should have been. You can allow.
Well, in your opinion, who should she have lost to eventually? Like who could she have lost to that would have made better sense, if not the champion?
She could have lost it back to Charlotte after.
Lost it back. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, with a run that big, when you've built up someone as a credible monster like that, and it's done through good matches, not done in a Goldberg style, and they've had a streak that long. And it's against someone who's already lost, why not let them get the title and then lose it? Especially when they've never wrestled against each other.
Did you have a problem with after the match where they embraced and she said congratulations? And it's like, would she have done that or attacked her afterwards? Like it seemed like that was obviously they're half in character, half not at that point.
I feel like it was fine, especially because they're technically on different shows.
Sure.
There was also what Dave Metzler said the next morning in that it was supposed to be Asuka who won, but Ric Flair has been floating the idea for, I guess, about a year now, that, he's been pumping up the idea that Charlotte and Rousey would be good for business.
Yeah, in a year.
Yeah, in a year.
But she can still lose the title. That doesn't be a championship match. All right, so you had the fatal 4-way for the U.S. Championship: Bobby Roode versus Rusev versus Jinder Mahal, Randy Orton. I fast forwarded through that. I can't stand fatal 4-ways in WWE because it's always two guys dumped at the outside of the ring for 90% of the match. I don't like them.
I like a 3-way. I don't like a 4-way.
Oh, do you now? So they're always there's never anything really interesting on these fatal 4-ways. Just not. So I'm just gonna say this: people love Rusev.
Yes,
he got himself over. Yep. After being he was over as a heel, he was incredible as a monster heel, was a good worker, and now he's over as this like serious yet goofy guy that people are like, he's just like a big lovable lug but is also a killer still, and people went nuts for that. And Aiden English coming out, and I never thought I'd see Aiden English on a WrestleMania card at all, let alone
I was so happy to see him though. I love.
Yeah,
him.
He's really embraced that, and they have something here. So. I would have put the title on Rusev because the crowd would have went nuts for it. Instead, we have heatless Jinder Mahal, and mostly, I hate to say, talentless Jinder Mahal get the U.S. Championship, which I don't see who that benefits unless you have Rusev come after him for a feud. That's because they used to be partners technically at one point. So that's the only thing that makes sense. The Mahal experiment has not worked. I am sorry. Gave it a shot. Did not work as champion. Did not work. So that's all I have to say about that. If you have any thoughts.
No, I fast forwarded that one.
Yeah. All right. Ronda Rousey and Kurt Angle versus Stephanie and Triple H was way better than I thought it had any right to be.
I stupidly fast forwarded it, and here I am. I admit it. I regret it. I'm going to go back and watch it because I wanted to see Rousey, but at that point, I had already, the previous two matches had, we were watching a recording of it, and it was getting late, and I was like, I'm going to fast forward this. I didn't want to see Steph. I had no interest in seeing Steph in the ring. Triple H does not get my loins a burning.
Sure, but he can still work a match.
He can, and that's the thing. Afterwards, I'm like, you know what, though? When he comes out every once in a while, he works a pretty fucking good match.
He's always worked well.
Yeah.
It's just that his matches never are like match of the year candidates, but he works a smart match.
So I've got to go back and see that because I want to see.
It was booked very smart. It covered up for Ronda so that for the amount of time she was in the ring, they made it count. She got off her submission moves. She did a really cool sort of like whipping Samoan drop, sort of on the shoulders and whip around drop. Like it was not just a Samoan drop. It's like half angle slam, half Samoan drop.
Oh, neat.
Which was interesting how she did it. The crowd was behind Ronda, which was good. They were really behind her 100%.
Also, I get really nervous watching Angle.
He didn't do a huge amount, but he's old too. Triple H is 48, I believe. Still is in great shape, obviously. Him and Stephanie hit the gym, but no, Angle looked pretty good for what it was.
Oh, okay.
He had his hand wrapped, like his finger was broken. He had something with his fingers taped together. It was red, white, and blue. It was like white and blue stars, which is funny. But no, it was a good match. And it was booked very smart. Like I couldn't imagine it going any better than how that match went, which is the best thing I can say about it. Ronda didn't look bad. She didn't look awkward. There was a couple of timing things that were off, but whatever. It's the first match.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Hats off to her. Ronda's gonna be huge. She's gonna be fighting headlining next year.
Good.
WrestleMania. I can see it.
I'm glad that's working out.
Yeah, because at first it wasn't. All right. New Day versus the Usos versus Bludgeon Brothers. It was kind of squashy. Bludgeon Brothers won. They were building them as monsters for like 5 months. Harper and Rowan they used to be in the Wyatt family. Now for some reason they have big mallets and run around and don't ever reference the Wyatt family anymore. They won. They should have won, I guess. Usos have been awesome though the past, I'd say 8 or 9 months on the mic. They've been like the best tag team on the mic in forever. And they put on great matches with the New Day. So
I thought it was a good match. There was nothing exceptional about it. There was nothing.
It was like 6 minutes.
Yeah,
so
it was what it was.
I can picture them putting the Usos on Raw and keeping the Bludgeon Brothers on SmackDown, and then Usos can fight a whole bunch of other people. They can fight like the Bar.
Yeah,
it'd be a good thing. And the Bar have been great too, by the way. Speaking of that, we're gonna get to that. John Cena.
Oh Jesus!
No, we're not there yet.
No, we're not.
I'm going in the order. John Cena runs out. Daniel Bryan and Shane versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I thought it was all right.
It was nice to see Daniel Bryan back.
Bryan looks good.
He
in shape.
I feel better about him wrestling now.
He's wrestling safer.
He looked like he was wrestling smart, safer. He looked good. He was energetic. And that's really all I can say about that one. I mean, Shane was there to do the coast to coast.
Shane, can you stop wrestling, please?
Shane, please, your children are embarrassed.
No, but I mean, he's just, to me, it doesn't work to me when you have a part-timer come out and then beat up two of the biggest heels now without Daniel Bryan there. It just doesn't work for me. It doesn't make sense.
It was pretty funny to see Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens making fun of his punches, though.
Were they really?
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
They were pantomiming his punches.
Yeah, because he's like trying to
spot on. Yeah,
yeah. It's just like Bryan should have been there for a chunk of the match, but he comes back, he makes it, saves the day. The crowd goes nuts. Does the yes kicks, he does his flying knee, and he does the yes lock, and they win.
As a little showcase for Bryan coming back,
it was perfect.
It was cute. It was fine. I mean, as a wrestling match, though, it was nothing.
Yeah, it was fine. Nia Jax versus Alexa Bliss. I skipped it. I did not watch that. I love Alexa. Nia has been uneven to me in terms of how she is in the ring. She was outright dangerous at one point last year.
Sure.
So they put the title on her. They had this bullying thing. They have not booked this well in general with the Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss, because it went from them being friends and not friends and friends. They didn't know what the buildup was sort of thrown together. Well, she's bullying her. They've been friends for a while, and it's like, okay, whatever.
I love Alexa Bliss, and Nia Jax has grown on me considerably. Mm-hmm. If they wanted to break those two apart, they should have done it in some other way. I don't even mind the arc as a whole could have worked fine for a different set. Mm-hmm. Nia Jax makes she should be an unstoppable heel. I don't know. I guess I don't know where this is going to go.
The weirdest part about this is because in the build up to WrestleMania, they had Aska face her and beat her.
Yeah,
a couple times, but barely beat her. So if they did that, I don't see, unless Asuka's going to fight her. I don't know why they did that up to the WrestleMania build up. It didn't seem to fit with what they were going for. It seems like they were like rebooking this on the fly to me, and not knowing what to do.
A lot of these.
I guess we're going to see what happens when they do the superstar shakeup with it.
I think that's and we're going to get there, but a lot of this WrestleMania seemed like it was kind of booked on the fly to me.
Even though there was some build up to most of these.
Yes.
Okay.
I guess I mean the results and how things played out.
The most disappointing match of the night: Nakamura versus AJ Styles.
Oh God, yes. Boy, was it.
At this point, I can honestly say the Nakamura experiment should be over. Go back to New Japan as quickly as you can. Because I don't know if it's the fact that you have to be toned down the style. Nakamura has not worked in WWE. He is not. His entrance connects. In the ring, he doesn't. His matches just seem like lethargic to me from what I've seen. And maybe he's disappointed he can't work the real strong style in WWE. But this was a match that belonged on SmackDown. Like, this was not a WrestleMania match to me.
It absolutely wasn't.
Very disappointed.
Hold on.
Good. Right on my TurboGrafx games, you sneeze. Can you cover your mouth next time?
I did.
You just sneezed on my Bloody Wolf bandana. So this match, I have to admit, I fast forward through a little bit. I watched the last 5 to 10 minutes and first 5 minutes. It was only 15 minutes, I think.
It was incredibly disappointing as a wrestling match.
Dream match.
Yeah.
Why? Because you say it is?
Right. Because
in New Japan they wrestled a totally different style, and in New Japan they were probably, I haven't seen them excellent matches.
So I also have not been insanely impressed with AJ in the WWE.
Oh, either. Really? That's shocking. Are you serious?
In at least what I've seen in main event stuff, or in
his Cena matches have been incredible. The two Cena main event matches at Royal Rumble.
Okay, that was actually quite good. But nothing. I mean, but they weren't putting him up against. I guess I was expecting more, and maybe it was on Nakamura.
I don't think it was on AJ, because AJ's worked with everyone good matches for the most part.
Most of what I've seen, it's just been him up against people I wouldn't expect to see him up against.
I just don't think Nakamura's striking style just works in WWE in general.
Well, okay, so this is where I'm going to go with it, though. I did unfortunately feel like it might have been Nakamura. The match was so slow and so rigid. There was no flow to it whatsoever. It was literally just trading moves. That's all it was. Sure. It was just, but it wasn't like they were even trading great spots.
Maybe it was because they didn't get any more time in order to have it develop.
So that's what I thought was going to happen. So at first it started off pretty slow. I mean, the match never got going. It never went anywhere. So it started off slow, and my buddy Adam was like, "This is kind of slow," and I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "But I have a feeling this match is gonna go on for a while." So I'm like, having watched a number of, matches like this, especially thinking that they might let them break out into their old style for a little bit at WrestleMania. I'm like, this could be a half-hour match, 40-minute match. Maybe they're just going to build it up. And then they get to that point where they do a strike exchange, and they really start hitting each other.
Oh, with the forearms, like
The
New Japan
forearms,
style,
right
yeah.
to.
You can hear them.
Unfortunately, it's right towards the end, but at that point, I don't think it is. I'm like, okay, and I sit up and I start
You
watching.
think this might be the middle point of the match?
I think this is where it's going to kick into high gear. And I'm like, well, unfortunately, that first part really sucked, even though matches start slow. I'm like, they could have done some near falls or something. I'm like,
Sure.
okay, maybe it's going to get good here, because I was like, wow, they're not really slapping the leg or anything. I'm like, okay, they're actually stiffing each other. Yeah, they're really hitting each other. You could start seeing the red and stuff on the faces and on the chest. I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then there's a little bit of fast movement, and then reversal styles clash done. And it was just, at that point, I was entirely deflated. I was like, what the fuck? The only good thing about that was turning him heel. And I say that for two reasons. One, if there's any shot of him being decent, or if there's any shot of this getting off the ground, and it's like, we know he can work.
Sure.
If there's any shot of this getting off the ground, I think a heel turn is going to be necessary for him.
You have to.
And two, it'll keep him from being buried. And I mean, the WWE needs a heel.
They need good heels.
Right.
They don't have them.
And that's the thing. He can be a good heel. I want him to be a good heel. It's imperative. I think it's going to be perfect for him. And I'm hoping that gives him that spark to, I don't know, light it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think part of it's him just being bored. Honestly,
I think so too. I think it is too. And I don't necessarily doubt that, but if he's bored and he can't, if he doesn't want to adapt to a different style, then dude, go wrestle to your heart's content in the style you like.
Sure. So that's all I'm going to say with that. Disappointed. I had a feeling that match was going to be like that. I just had this weird feeling where this is not going to be interesting to a lot of people.
I was nervous.
We skipped I don't know how I skipped it. John Cena versus Undertaker. Elias is now one of my favorite things ever. I love Elias.
I've been
on the Elias train
since
the beginning.
Yep.
That was great.
I don't know why people aren't taking to him more. I think he's
going to be
fantastic.
He's going to be a main eventer, I think, within the next year. He's going to be a main eventer.
He's just so good.
But they might just say, though, he should be in this spot where he is because he's awesome at his current spot.
He's really good at, like, deadpanning and not.
Yeah,
just,
but the crowd,
I fucking love
he'll turn the cheers around. And he called everyone scumbags on the night after Raw after WrestleMania.
Oh,
it was great. Yeah,
I think he's just fucking great. But
so he comes out. Cena thinks it's going to be Undertaker. Then Undertaker comes out and basically squashes Cena in 2.5 minutes, which I didn't have a problem with. I thought it was fine because you know what? I don't want Undertaker working a longer match because he can't anymore. And that was like Undertaker's greatest hits. I had no problem with that. I thought that was fine. He gave the crowd what they wanted to see because last year was a disaster, that match with Roman Reigns. And if that should not have been Undertaker's last match with that, and I said at the time that was a shame.
Sure.
So if this is going to be his last match, I don't think it is going to be his last match. Maybe they decided that, he can just work 5-minute matches and that'll be fine.
It needs to be his last match. Dude just needs to let it go and stop trying to find the perfect way to leave.
First way is still going to be Sting, by the way. I'm still holding out hope for next year for Sting. I'm going to hold that hope they do a 5-minute match with Sting, and I think they're going to make that happen. You know, Sting's close to 60 by now.
The thing is no matter what he does, it's always going to make some people happy and some people angry at this point. I don't have any problem with that match because I had nothing emotionally invested in it. It just seemed like the whole thing was just weird and bizarre. I mean, where were the... I was waiting for the Scooby-Doo fucking sound effects when he was like, boop, when he falls over and gets stared at.
It was a little bit. The story's going to be that John Cena wasn't prepared for some reason. He called him out, and he was scared in the match. The announcers did a horrible job of communicating that Cena looked scared. They did not. I was waiting for the announcers to say Cena looks. Yes. The announcers should have communicated. Cena looks up. I think Coach mentioned it a little bit that he looked unnerved or something. They should have put over the fact that Cena looked like he was like he was just like holy shit.
I thought they did because it was very obvious to me that was what they were going for.
Like Cena was like, like they should have done a better job. And Cena got one move in the whole match, and then Undertaker ran through Snake Eyes, old school. He did all his moves. He did the barely jumping clothesline, which he hasn't been able to jump in like 5 years.
Better.
And then he did the choke slam and the tombstone, which was fine.
Better tombstone than he's done in a long time.
Sure, Cena's head actually hit the ground.
Yeah, I was watching. I'm like, how much space is
choke slam? Choke slam looked good. Cena helped with that and got up real high. I like that match a lot. Send the crowd home happy. Cena's probably going to go away for a while. The film stuff, you don't have to see him for months. It's fine.
I guess I neither feel.
It's fine.
It's exactly.
But
it's
the
fine.
crowd loved it. You got to give it something the crowd to like.
Sure. If the crowd loved it, great. I didn't feel either way. It was so weird. I guess I wasn't paying attention to the build-up either.
Now for something that really bothered me, the tag team, the Raw tag team belts, Braun and a fucking referee's son, it turns out, versus Cesaro and Sheamus, who have done a great job as a tag team over the past year and a half, and really disappointed for a legitimate tag team, one of the better tag teams in a while in WWE, to be treated like a joke. And I cannot tell you, I hate when they treat tag teams as a joke to a monster. It goes back to WCW and other things where it's like the tag team gets destroyed by a singles wrestler. And
it's not just disrespectful to them.
It's just
I feel it's
like
Braun. Braun. I like Braun, and Braun is
they should have put the title on him in the fall when he was hotter. Against Lesnar.
I highly doubt this has anything to do with. But this is not Braun's fault either.
No, I just feel like they didn't want to take the title off Lesnar. They wanted to keep it for the Reigns match, and I'll get into that. And it's disrespectful also because, spoilers, night after Raw, Braun relinquishes the tag title. So now they're going to do a tournament for it. So it was that
was a total waste.
I guess they needed Braun for something to do at WrestleMania. And they didn't want to put him in the Battle Royal because they put him in a Battle Royal to get to the tag team part already. So really disappointing because Sheamus and Cesaro have done a pretty damn good job as a tag team. They've accepted those roles.
Yeah,
even though Cesaro for a time they were teasing as being a top tier guy, they're putting him on in tons of matches on Raw, like good matches with Cena a couple years ago, and like really like because he won the Andre the Giant thing.
Yeah.
Then they didn't go forward with that with Heyman. Then they pushed him, and then they pushed him again. So
Cesaro is a guy that I've always loved, and Sheamus is someone who, depending on who he's with and what he's doing at the time, is carryable.
Sure. So, let's see, what else are we missing out on here? Just the main event. Am I missing one? I think we hit them all. Cena, female, Universal. I think that's it. Main event: Lesnar versus Roman Reigns was a shocker to me. For shocker because everyone said, well, Brock is going away. And they revealed afterwards that Brock had re-signed on Wednesday and they kept it a secret. So Brock is not going to UFC. It looks like anytime sooner they got to work out a deal. Dana White was at WrestleMania though.
Yeah.
So maybe they worked out a deal where Brock can work a couple times a year at UFC and then comes back and wrestles at the same time, which would make sense. You can do that. I mean, Brock only wrestles about 6 times a year anyway. So, you can do that. But I think though, this could have been the realization that the Reigns experiment is over. Like, this is it. I mean, I don't see where you go from here. He got squashed in the main event of WrestleMania. A WrestleMania main event squash match.
Yep.
For them, a glorified squash. Reigns got in a few hits here and there. He had a couple near falls. But I don't think I've seen something like this before. Where you basically just said, okay, that's done. Like, really, that's done. We tried it before once or twice. That's done. Reigns has main evented 4 WrestleManias in a row. That's done. I really feel like that's where they finally got to.
I do too. I mean,
I feel bad for Reigns because he should have not been put in that position to begin with. And 2 years ago, they should have cut bait with him, to be honest, and just built him up naturally as a upper mid card, winning and keeping like the IC belt, or you know what I mean, and just let it progress naturally. But I was shocked that the only thing you can say, well, he kicked out of like 5 F5s, which was really stupid because now the finisher doesn't mean as much. You got to protect the finisher at some point.
No, but they haven't protected the F5 in years.
But
the F5 has been meaningless for years.
Okay, I thought they should have protected it. You can say, well, Reigns was tough, but Reigns got in almost no offense the whole match.
Very little.
I fucking hate the Superman punch. It is an awful move, especially how he delivers it. It doesn't look like there's any force behind it at all.
No.
Just from that martial arts standpoint, if you're trying to do a jumping punch, the power of a punch comes from your feet being grounded in your hips. If you're jumping in the air punching someone, it might look cool. There's not going to be a huge amount behind that at the end of the day. At least, I don't know. mixed martial artists, boxers, let me know if I'm wrong. I hate that stupid move. I hate it. Hate it. So he got in like 3 in on Brock. He got in a few spears, and that was really it. And then Brock manhandled him. Then Brock cut him open. It looked like the hard way on purpose. Got him in the hairline and punched him.
Yeah.
And elbowed him, which he did with Orton a couple years ago, and bloodied him up. So they really were making a point here that Brock's a killer, which he is anyway from past matches. But then when it comes out that he re-signed, I'm like, oh, okay. That's interesting. People are shocked. But to end WrestleMania that way was weird. That should not have been the final match, in my opinion.
No, it absolutely should not have been.
Hell, I would have ended with Cena Undertaker before that.
Yeah. Why not?
That.
If you're going to end it with a squash, at least end it with one that's going to leave the majority of the crowd in a good mood.
Yeah, people didn't like the match. People were saying this is awful. They were chanting, and it wasn't a good match at all.
No, it was miserable. So here's my thing. Regardless of the ending, you know, some people can be happy with Brock winning. Some people can be upset with Brock winning. I honestly, at this point in time, almost feel bad for Reigns. No, I do feel bad for Reigns. And here's why. It's really not like one of them is a better wrestler than the other at this point in time. I'm tired.
Reigns can put on pretty good matches.
Huh?
Reigns can put on a pretty good match.
I mean, Reigns is carryable.
Yeah.
At this
probably.
point. I mean, more carryable than I think than Lesnar. I'm sorry. At this point, I was off on Lesnar, and then I got back on to Lesnar, and for a brief period of time, and now I'm just back off again. The guy does fucking nothing in the ring. He whips people around with suplexes, punches people, and does F5s. I mean, that's it. That's his entire fucking offense.
He did a flying knee on Reigns, which looked good.
He's one of the most boring people to watch in the ring. I don't fucking care how big he is. I don't care how many times he can do a suplex. They were both boring to watch. So it's not like by him winning we're getting a better wrestler. We're not.
No, you keep your marquee guy in place that can attract people.
But my question is, how much longer is he actually going to attract? That's my biggest concern.
Before you get bored with it.
Right.
Well, here's the thing, though. Now we're in a different...
You've got two boys. At this point, this isn't last year or 2 years ago where it was obvious that Brock still had some steam behind him and no one was behind Reigns at all at that point.
But I think the problem with Brock, though, is that people were sick of the Reigns thing. If you put Brock against, say, Samoa Joe, for example, as a main event, which they might do again at some point. Unfortunately, Samoa Joe was injured and missed this whole WrestleMania season when he came back on Raw. That would have been exciting, I think, to people. Like, you have a legitimate thing where people want to see these two fight, and they both legitimately are, tough guys. But the fact that it was Reigns diminished Brock's ability, I think, to be a draw for it. I just think that's it. If you put Brock against, again, I'm going to say Brock versus Daniel Bryan would be the biggest match of the year if you did that match. Then you have contrasting people. You have someone. See, the problem here is that no one wanted to see Brock get beat. They wanted Brock to beat Reigns. That's not interesting because it's what should happen anyway.
You mean no one wanted to see Brock win? They wanted to see Reigns lose?
Yes. You have to have someone. Brock's the most interesting when he's the heel, the monster heel that the underdog has to defeat.
Problematically, I wanted to see. I was on the opposite end. I wanted to see Brock lose. I didn't want to see Reigns win. Like, either way,
it's not a main event.
There was no way to go for it.
It should not have been the last match. That's the bottom line. It should not have been the last match of the night. But you kind of put yourself in a corner with the AJ Nakamura thing not being good. Anyway, I think people realized it was not going to be that good. That could have been the last match either. You could put the women's match at the end if you wanted to. That hasn't been done before. I don't know if they're yet that they can get away with that without people being like, that should have been the last
match of the night. I mean, that or
better than Nakamura match and AJ Styles match.
You're right. I mean, despite my complete indifference to the Undertaker match, that or the women's match would have been a far better way to end it.
But here's where you are though now, and this is one of the reasons I think they kept the title on Brock. On Raw, Bobby Lashley came back. He hasn't been around in 10 years. From what I hear, he's a much better wrestler than he was 10 years ago.
Really?
He's as big as Brock. He's a legitimate threat. He's a real mixed martial artist. I think it's like 15-2 in mixed martial arts.
Okay.
Better record than Brock. So if you want to build up to something, say SummerSlam, Lashley versus Lesnar would be a very interesting match. Because they're both huge athletic guys. And at that point, you could send him away, Lesnar, for a while, put the belt on Lashley. That's one option. Samoa Joe just came back, challenged Reigns. Reigns came off on the night after the Raw, like whiny and like, he was really weird. I really think they're done with it. Like, that's it for main event, at least for a while. They have to rebuild his character. Like, Reigns came in, like, confused, not knowing what to do.
Well, a lot of people said that. I mean, granted, the rumors after Mania are huge. Like, I don't know where Metzler got his information that Aska was supposed to win, and it was, changed within the last couple of days. But, people said that it. I mean, I almost believe it because it looked apparent how much of it. But people said that the Roman loss was a sort of an on the fly thing.
Oh, it was on the fly? They did a reset on the fly?
I don't know how on the fly, but it was, it wasn't.
Well, if he just resigned on Wednesday.
Yeah. That would have had to have been a fair.
Otherwise, there's no way he would have won.
Right.
Which makes sense. But now they realize, okay, this Reigns thing, I'm hoping. Just put him in the mid-card Reigns. Have him be on a tag team or something. It's fine. Be fine. God, he's still getting paid. Whatever. His ego's fine. So other than that, you had the Authors of Pain come up on Raw. You had... what is it? No Way Jose. He's like I guess an opening act. He came up from NXT. Ember Moon looks pretty good.
Ember Moon's good.
She came up and tagged with Nia Jax.
I do think there's some potential there.
So you had, it looks exciting, and this is even before talking about who's Daniel Bryan gonna fight. Where's he gonna end up? Mm-hmm. And then the possibilities I think open up, and that's your landscape for the next year. Brock, Bobby Lashley, Daniel Bryan being there again, Owens and Zayn. They don't know what's going to end up with them. There was the funniest thing in the night. There was the first TNA reference ever that I can think of on WWE in the 15, 16, 17 years TNA's been around. So Zayn and Kevin Owens come back. They come to Raw because they were fired from SmackDown because they didn't win the match.
Yeah.
And Angle goes, well, guys, I don't know what I can do with you two. The tag team division is pretty full here, but I hear TNA is hiring, and it was fun. The crowd was like, "Holy shit!" That was the first time. I don't know if Angle went off the script for that. He might have. Zayn almost started laughing when he heard that. Like he was like, Zayn was like, Owens was a professional. He did, but like it was fucking hysterical. So there it is. We've talked about this for like 20 minutes. That's enough. So. I'm excited. This is pretty good just because the fact that Bryan's back opens up the world of possibilities. Like it really does. By the way, you had a few New Japan guys there. You had Okada in attendance.
Yeah.
Minoru Suzuki, and you had Tanahashi in attendance there. So it was interesting that they were there. I think Okada was at the Fan Expo. I wonder if any WWE officials knew who he was walking around. The big hulking Japanese guy was like 6'2", 6'3".
I'm sure they probably did.